Hello and welcome to New Start at Home. I'm your host, Don McIntosh. We're glad that you're joining us today because we have a special guest. Actually, not really a guest. Around these parts quite a bit, Dr. Neil Nedley. Welcome, Dr. Nedley.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And you are a physician that specializes in internal medicine, but a couple of years ago you told me that 1 in 3 patients you see has emotional or like depression type problems. So you're interested now in the field of mental health.
Yes, actually, the brain is an internal organ, so it's still not off limits for an internal medicine doctor. And we find out a lot of diseases have their origin in the mind. You know, even heart disease, when we know what we should do to reverse heart disease and we're not doing it, what's the problem?
I guess in the mind.
The problem is there in the mind. And so that's really what has piqued my interest in regards to helping physical disease by actually helping the mind.
So emotional intelligence. Our emotions sometimes lead us and guide us, but they can mislead us and misguide us. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, that's correct. In fact, studies show that your emotional intelligence is what is critically related to not only your happiness, but your success in life. And how intelligent you are in regards to IQ has to do with the first job that you're going to get out of college. That's how important that is. But how far you advance in that job is not at all related to your IQ. It's related to your emotional intelligence. And so this is critically important to your success, your influence, and really your general satisfaction and happiness in your relationships.
So there are common distortions people have in their emotions that can lead them astray. You're going to go through a couple of those with us.
Yes, that's right. Actually, there are 10 ways of distorted thinking. And if we can learn those 10 ways of distorted thinking and correct those 10 ways, we can significantly improve our emotional intelligence.
One of them you said is all or nothing thinking.
Yeah, all or nothing thinking. Now, some of the time that's correct, but most of the time all or nothing thinking is incorrect. And an example of this would be someone who lost the race for Congress and comes into my office and says, Dr. Nedley, I'm a big zero. I lost the race for Congress. Does that mean he's a big zero?
No.
Because you get a divorce, does it mean you're a big zero?
No.
No, but that's where all or nothing thinking leads to. Even in the Bible, Esau had this. When Jacob asked him if he was willing to sell his birthright for the bowl of lentils, and he'd been out hunting all day. Yes, he was starved and he was weak at that point, but he says, if I don't eat these lentils now, I'm going to die. All or nothing thinking. And he sold his birthright due to all or nothing thinking. And did his emotions run out of control as a result of that?
Of course.
Absolutely.
I like lentils, but I don't know if I'd go that far. The next one you said was overgeneralization.
Yeah, overgeneralization. An example of that was a good friend of mine in college who had his eye on a girl for about 6 months before he mustered up enough courage to ask her out. And we thought he had a high likelihood of success. He was good looking, he was smart, he was engaging. But she turned him down. And he comes back to the dorm and he says, Neil, I'm destined to be lonely and miserable the rest of my life. And I mean, he had tears in his eyes and he, overgeneralized in a couple of ways. First I said, what did she say for him to say that? And it turns out she had told him that she had another event to go to. And I said, so you conclude this? And he says, well, I got to thinking if she just thought half as much about me as I think about her, she would have canceled that event and gone along with me. So I'm destined to be lonely and miserable the rest of my life. Well, he had assumed because she turned him down once, she was always going to turn him down. And he also overgeneralized by thinking that 100% of eligible women had identical taste to hers, and thus he would be endlessly rejected the rest of his life.
So this was definitely overgeneralizing.
Overgeneralizing is really taking the hypothesis and actually putting it into a fact rather than a hypothesis, or generalizing from too few instances.
So in your seminar, in helping people with reversing depression or getting more emotionally stable, you go through these types of things.
Yes, and actually it's not just for people with depression. We all have tendencies to think distorted thoughts, and many times we need to back up and say, how true is that? And is it really completely true? And often our feelings and our emotions are bent out of shape over things that aren't really completely true. Like Will Rogers says, it's not what we don't know that hurts us so much, it's what we know for sure that just ain't so.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Nedley. Thank you for joining us as well, and we encourage you to go to the website newstart.com. And we know that your emotional intelligence will increase if you look at these principles. Thanks for joining us.